Hey, hi, hello, my name is Naomi, if you didn't guess already, and welcome or welcome back to my channel. You can see a couple more of the little guys on my bed today. This is Croaks, and this is Checkers, and then that's Sid, who you've all met before. Also, my sister trimmed and dyed my hair. I like it. I love it. I love this. I actually really love this color. I might keep up with it, even though I never keep up with her dye ever. But anyway, today I'm going to do a mid-year wrap up of like every book that I've read so far this year, because I made the other video this year too late to do like a first quarter wrap up kind of deal. I don't know what I'm going to call them, but that's why I'm doing all of them now. My goal for this year is 12 books, and after I've read the book that I'm currently reading, that will be complete. It was also 12 books for last year, and I didn't meet it. I got 9 books. And my plan is that next year, however many books I read this year, will be my goal for next year. So I have all the books next to me. They're in a stack. I'm not going to pull them over because it will fall over. I'm on my bed. It's going to fall over. But I'm going to go through each book that I read and what I rated it, and just kind of whether or not I'd recommend it. So the first book that I read this year was I Follow You by Peter James. I rated this a 4.75. The only reason that I didn't rate it a 5, even though it was like insane and I still haven't processed it, is because the timing felt a little bit off at times. Like it's based on days. So like there's not chapters, it's just, well, there is chapters, but it's like chapter 40 is Monday the 14th of January. So it follows like days. So you get to see how much time has passed and what's going on, but it feels a little disjointed at times with just how quickly things are progressing and like days and weeks that you miss in the story. Um I would recommend it if you like weird, insane books. It's to do with a stalker. There's just so much stuff that happens in this book. But if you enjoy that kind of thing, then I would recommend this. But yeah, I Follow You, Peter James. Crazy. It says I follow you until you are mine at the bottom. I don't know how I feel about this. Like I'll read the synopsis of, well, the blurb of these books, I guess. So this one says, to the outside world, charming and confident Dr. Marcus Valentine has it all. A loving wife, 3 kids, and a great job, but there's something missing that always has been. Driving to work one morning, his mind is elsewhere and not on the road. He almost mows down a female jogger on a crossing. As she runs on, Marcus is transfixed. I am so sorry, I can't read out loud. She is the spitting image of a girl he was infatuated with in his teens, a girl he has never been able to get out of his head. Lynette had dumped him harshly. For years, he has fantasized about seeing her again. Might that jogger possibly be her after all this time? Could this be the most incredible coincidence? Despite all his attempts to resist, his thoughts are consumed by this woman, and when events take a tragically unexpected turn, his obsession threatens to destroy both their worlds. But still, he won't stop. He can't stop. It's not Lynette, I'll tell you that right now. It's not Lynette. It is a girl called Georgie, and the amount of things that happen, I don't even know where to start because that gives you nothing. That gives you nothing about what actually happens in this book. But yeah, would recommend 4.75. Then I read the entire Hush Hush series. First book, Hush Hush, then Crescendo, Silence, and then Finale. This follows Nora, a girl in Maine, I think, and she ends up in this kind of situation with a guy called Patch. I read them when I was a teenager, like the first 2 at the very least. And then I found this on eBay for like a tenner. And I was like, obviously, I'm going to buy the entire set. And I loved them. Yeah, like I rated Hush Hush a 5. And I know that that's like me looking through nostalgia glasses at it. But I also do think that it's just a really good book. A lot of people in the reviews are like, oh, this is so schizophrenic. Like it's all over the place. And I don't see that. I see that if you don't finish the book, but if you finish it, it all comes together and makes sense in the end. And then I've got like a list of what I rated them. I rated Crescendo in Silence a 4, and then I rated Finale a 4.5. Yeah, it took me a little while to finish them. Like on the back of this, it does actually say something. So it says, Nora is drawn to Patch against her better judgment. Together they embark on a romance which transcends the boundaries between heaven and earth. but being with Patch places Nora right in the middle of a centuries-old battle between the immortal and those who have fallen. And now she and Patch must face down a villain who holds the power to shatter everything they have worked so hard for, including their love. Like, there are some moments in this where I was just kind of like, ooh, spicy, but not in a sense of sexual content. It's just like their relationship and certain things that happen between them. Like, these are YA books. There's not anything like super serious in them, but would recommend, 100% would recommend. I will always recommend the Hush Hush series to people. If you haven't read it, read it. There are some problematic moments because of when it was written, but at the same time, like, I feel like you can just move past those and be like, okay, yeah, like, I understand when this was written. Overall, really good series. Absolutely love it. I get what people say when they compare it to Twilight, even though I've not actually read the Twilight books. I have seen the films, but at the same time, I feel like it holds enough of its own to be its own story without being like, oh, this is a copy of Twilight. Like, I feel like it is its own thing. And I just love it. I prefer the stuff to do with like Fallen and that more than I do vampires. In this sense, like, usually I fucking love vampires. Like, don't get me wrong, I love a good vampire story. Anyway, that's the Hush Hush series. Then I read Exciting Times by I learned how to pronounce his name, Nisha. I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Nisha. Nisha Dolan. I rated this a 2.5. I'm so sorry, Nisha. It was just so middle of the road. I know I spoke about this in the last video, but it's split into 3 sections. So you've got Julian, Edith, and then Julian and Edith. And the only reason that I rated it at 2.5 was for the middle section on Edith. There was no redemption. Not a single person in this book was a good person. I mean, I'll read you the back of it anyway. When you leave Ireland to spend your parents' money, it's called a gap year. When Ava leaves Ireland to make her own money, she's not sure what to call it, but it involves a badly paid job in Hong Kong, teaching grammar to rich children. Julian, who likes to spend money on Ava and lets her move into his guest room. Edith, who Ava meets while Julian is out of town and actually listens to her when she talks. Money, love, cynicism, unspoken feelings, and unlikely connections. Exciting times ensue. It just wasn't exciting. Like, no one was a good person. No one was a good person. There was no redemption. In my eyes, at least, there was no redemption. I don't know. Maybe you'll read it and form your own opinion on it, but I honestly cannot, in good faith, like, recommend this book unless you think that you're gonna enjoy a book. Like, that doesn't really give you anything. Like, I thought that this was gonna be like a fun romance where, like, oh, like, he spent a lot of money on it, on all his money on her and stuff, and like, it just wasn't that. It just wasn't that. So I don't know if you would like this, but I do not recommend it. I am not going to be keeping this book. This is going to be one that I'm not going to keep forever. I just don't know what to do with it yet. But yeah, so that was Exciting Times. Then after that, I was like, okay, I need a decent romance. So I picked up Tate, which is the 10th book of the Daddies of the Shadows series. Now, like, hear me out, okay? Hear me out. I have never read a DDLG romance book before. This is like 100% adult. I'm telling you that right now. Do not read this if you are under the age of 18. But I saw this advertised and I was just kind of like, you know what? I'm interested. I'm intrigued. Let's friggin' go. So I picked it up and I'm not mad that I did. I'm not mad that I did. It's a very, very short book. It's, how many pages is it? It's 160 pages. So it's a very short book. And a lot happens. A lot happens in those 160 pages. I rated this a 4.5. And I think that the only reason that I rated it a 4.5 was because, like, it is so fast paced. And I'm not a big fan of, like, the fast paced romance. I like it to be a little bit slower, not just, like, insta love, you know? But there's, like, it's a very cute story. It is a very cute story. It has a lot of very adorable moments in it. And yeah, like, if you like DDLG or want to just like kind of dip your toes into that kind of romance, this would probably be for you, and I do recommend it. On the back, it says, sometimes the law isn't enough to protect the vulnerable. Sometimes someone has to step in, no matter what the consequences. Sometimes doing what's right isn't always legal. Sometimes it's dark and dirty and dangerous. Men like that need somewhere to call home and a family to hold close. Welcome to the Brotherhood. Welcome to the Shadows. I think that that's probably going to be on the back of all of these. I do actually want to read the rest of them. I looked it up to make sure that I could read this without reading the rest of them. And I could. Like, they are standalone books. It just has a lot of cameos from, like, the other people that that are in this series. Like there's like Nox, Angel, I think there's one called Wolf. And then the rest of this says Arya. Arya thinks her life is as good as it's going to get. She has a crummy job, a rundown apartment, and a car that is definitely on its last leg. She's determined to make it on her own, no matter what. The one thing she does have to look forward to in her life is her weekly visit to the playground. When a silver fox of a doctor patches up her scraped knee, she's sure she's dreaming because no one has ever cared for her like this. And then Tate. Tate is pretty sure he's destined to be alone. Who would want to deal with a divorced, middle-aged workaholic who needs a special kind of relationship to be happy? When he comes upon the most angelic and utterly lost woman who needs his help, he does everything he can to gain her trust. He's wondering if she's the special woman he's been hoping for all these years, but will she let him into her heart? This is also an age gap. I will tell you this right now. Like, she's 19, I think, and he's in his 50s. Like, it's a big age gap. But they're both consenting adults. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's a very cute story. I promise you. It is adorable. And then after that, I was kind of like, okay, I'm going to read something that's not super adult. I'm going to read something else. So I looked at my bookshelf and I realized that I have a lot of Doctor Who books that I've owned for a lot of years and haven't read. Mostly because when I got them, I tried to read them and I think they were just like a little bit too above like the reading level that I was at. So I never read them, but they've moved with me. Like they've moved with me from house to house and then into my flat, me living alone. They've moved with me. So the first one that I read was Sting of the Zygons. Honestly, kind of horrifying. Don't know how to feel about this one too much, but kind of horrifying. Like the amount of death and descriptions of death in this, and I know that Doctor Who isn't exactly like fluffy and cute, but like this felt worse than most Doctor Who episodes. So this is the Doctor and Martha, as it shows on the front. Most of the ones that I have are the Doctor and Martha, and then I think I have like two that are the Doctor and Rose. But it's always David Tennant's Doctor because he's the best Doctor. He's like my longest standing crush, I swear. But this says the TARDIS lands the Doctor and Martha in the Lake District in 1909, where a small village has been terrorized by a giant scaly monster. The search is on for the elusive Beast of Westmoreland, and explorers, naturalists, and hunters from across the country are descending on the fells. King Edward the Seventh himself is on his way to join the search with a knighthood for whoever finds the beast. But there is a more sinister presence at work in the lakes than a mere monster on the rampage. The Doctor is soon embroiled in the plans of an old and terrifying enemy as the hunters become the hunted, and a desperate battle of wits begin with the future of the entire world at stake. So what you encounter is these things at the bottom, which are Zygons. Horrifying, creepy, weird. So I'm so sorry for how bad I actually am at reading out loud. It's always been a thing that I've struggled with. I can read, I'm just slightly dyslexic, and reading out loud kind of like brings that out sometimes. Like it makes it worse. But yeah, I mean, like I rated it a 4. I rated it 4 stars because it was a good story, and I would recommend this one. Like 100%. And then I read a second one, which is The Last Dodo, which again, Doctor and Martha in the front. This one says the Doctor and Martha go in search of a real live dodo and are transported by the TARDIS to the mysterious Museum of the Last Ones. There, in the Earth section, they discover every extinct creature up to the present day, all still alive and in suspended animation. Preservation is the museum's only job, collecting the last of every endangered species from all over the universe, but exhibits are going missing. Can the Doctor solve the mystery before the museum's curator adds the last of the Time Lords to her collection? So, I mean, from that, you can kind of like see where it goes eventually. But it was a decent story. I didn't like the way that it was written. So I rated it a 3.5 because this one was written by Stephen Cole, and this one was written by Jacqueline Rayner. I think I forgot to say that this is written by Tate. But yeah, so like it was written by a different person, and it switches from like kind of Martha telling the story where she's like, "Oh, I did this, and then the Doctor did this," to a kind of like narrative version of it where it's like Martha did this. And it's kind of jarring at times to have that difference in narrative storytelling in this book. I read a review that was like, oh, there's no time travel, but like everything that they do in this book relies on that, which isn't true. If you actually read until the end, it does explain how they've been able to do this for so long. But yeah, I don't know. It's like I would say read it, but at the same time, like I'm gonna tell you, like I didn't find it to be the best book I've ever read in my entire life. You know, it was a good story. I just feel like it was a bit odd with the two narrative styles constantly. Like it felt like they were kind of at war at times. But that was the last dodo. And then I was like, you know what? I've had this for so long. Did I say I rated that at 3.5? Um, I've had this for so long. I was recommended it by somebody who randomly came into work one day, and he told me that he didn't cry at all until he turned a page, and I know exactly where that page was. I turned a page, and I know exactly where he started crying, but I didn't start crying at that point. This is Flowers for Algernon by Daniel Keyes. It says, Charlie Gordon, IQ 68, is a floor sweeper and the gentle butt of everyone's jokes, until an experiment in the enhancement of human intelligence turns him into a genius. But then Algernon, the most whose triumphal experimental transformation preceded his, fades and dies, and Charlie has to face the possibility that his salvation was only temporary. Like, this is one awards because it's really good. 5 stars. Like I rated it 5 stars. Most other people also rated 5 stars or someone close to that. I did cry multiple times. I cried after the point where I feel most people cry. I was kind of like, this entire book is depressing. Um, but I know where most people would cry. I know exactly the line that most people would cry at. I didn't cry at that. I cried a little bit later on with some stuff that happens to do with him and just his journey after, well, you know, after Algernon dies. Like, it tells you immediately he dies. Yeah, I cried, and then I had to go to bed. And then I had 25 pages left, and on the last, like, 2 pages, I was crying so hard that I could barely keep reading. So, yeah, 5 stars. Would 100% recommend. If you've never read this, there's a like, it did so much for, like, sci-fi books, especially at the time. Like, even now, this is a great sci-fi story. Like, it even says, like, at the top, you know, this is a, like, Masterworks thing. It says, welcome to the best of the Masterworks, a selection of the finest in science fiction. Like, there's a reason for that. So if you've never read this, please do yourself a favor, go out and read this book. So the last book that I've read so far was, there's no dust cover. There's not been a dust cover on this in a long time. Love Lessons by Jacqueline Wilson. I've had this book for a long time. I think it was my older sister's, and then I just kind of like took it away from her. There are so many pages in here that have been like dog-eared from us being younger and not, you know, not knowing that books deserve way more respect than that. I'm not a dog-ear person, I promise. I'm not. But yeah, I read this multiple times. Let me say multiple times when I was younger, along with a couple others. I read Kiss a few times, and Double Act. I still do have Double Act, but I don't have Kiss anymore. But I did read this Kiss and Double Act like multiple times. And I remember feeling like this was like such a good story and that it was like so romantic and so cute and like, oh, just like so devastating. I'll need to like find the like blurb of it somewhere because obviously I don't have it. But basically we follow this girl called Prudence King. She is 14 years old. She's homeschooled by her dad along with her sister Grace. Her dad has a stroke. Yeah, I don't feel like that's a spoiler. Like, I'm not going to recommend this book. Please don't read this book. Her dad has a stroke, so she ends up going to a mainstream school because her mum can't continue to homeschool the kids. In this mainstream school, she meets the art teacher and starts this kind of like weird relationship with him. She starts babysitting for him, and it just progresses very oddly. It's not a good story. I was like, you know what? I'll read it again now that I'm 27 years old and see how I feel about it as an adult. I rated it 1.75, and the only reason that I rated it like that high was because of some of the other stuff that happens in this book. Like, it's not all bad and gross and weird, but it is mostly bad and gross and weird, and I cannot, in good faith, rate it higher than that or recommend this book to you. Please don't read this book, and if you do, I am so sorry. So sorry. Like I love Jacqueline Wilson, and I'm gonna read the other stories that I remember reading from her because like I didn't remember like anything that happened in this, but I want to read the other books because I want to know if it's just like this one that's a one-off that's like really weird and like no one really understands why she wrote this, or if it's multiple books that are weird and maybe she's not as good of an author as I remember her being, but like I know that I've read multiple of her books. Like, oh, that was my knee. If you heard that, that was my knee. Like, I remember reading. There was one called like Charlotte or Lottie or something to do with that because I remember like my sister's called Charlotte. There's Vicky Angel, which I remember crying at. There's just like there's a couple that I've read, like the Illustrated Mum. I know that I read that, and I want to read that again because I know that it's to do with a woman who has bipolar. And then there's like Candy Floss and like all these other books that I know that I've read, but I don't remember anything about. So I want to read them again, and I want to especially read the ones that are to do with like mental health representation because I want to know if she represented it in a good way or if it was all stereotypical. Does that make sense? But yeah, I just cannot recommend this. I mean, like it is very old. It's like very beat up on the corners and things. I've had it for a long, long time. But that is all of the 11 books that I've read so far this year and what I rated them and whether I would recommend them. What I'm reading currently, I'm actually reading two books at the moment. I am reading this. I do have the dust cover for this. I just took it off because I don't like reading with dust covers on. This is Astrophysics for People in a Hurry by Neil deGrasse Tyson. And I just love astrophysics. I already know pretty much everything that he said so far. I think I've read like 4 chapters of this. It's a very short book, but I'm just reading this kind of like in between. And if I have like too small of a bag to bring the other book that I'm reading with me, especially because I want to keep this one safe. Like this was loaned to me, so I need to keep it safe. But this one I got from a charity shop. And yeah, I love it. I have always had an interest in astrophysics, and if this can teach me something that I don't already know, great, amazing. If not, then I'm just brushing up on knowledge that I already have. But like Neil deGrasse Tyson is one of my all-time favorite people. I absolutely love him. Me and my mom used to watch like all the shows that he did about space and the cosmos and like all that sort of stuff, and I just love it. So like this is the only like non-fiction book that I've read this year so far and probably at all for the rest of the year. But yeah, if you have an interest in astrophysics but you don't know where to start, this is probably a great place to start because it is like very minimal science and just like this is what astrophysics is, this is how the universe started. It's the basics that you need before going on to learn more if you want to learn more after this. But you don't need to. Like this will get you through some conversations on astrophysics, you know? And then the other one that I'm reading is The Exorcist. So this is my bookmarking. I'm just under halfway through. This was loaned to me by my favorite customer at work. And I love him. He's amazing. Like, he's my favorite customer for a reason, you know? And if the other person that I say is my favorite customer watches this, you're still also my favorite customer. I just haven't seen you in a while. But yeah, he loaned me this. I've never seen the film and I've never read the book. So it is the 40th anniversary edition. And it says that it has like some extra stuff in it, but I don't know what's going to be extra because I've never read the original book. Like, I've never watched the film, I've never read the book. So whatever's extra is the first time for me, babes. I don't know why I said that. But if you are like me and you've never experienced The Exorcist, I will read the back of this to you. It says, "Prepare to be afraid. The terror begins quietly, noises in the attic, in the child's room. An odd smell, the displacement of furniture, an icy chill, easy explanations are offered. Then frightening changes are seen in the 11-year-old girl. Medical tests shed no light on her symptoms, but it is as if a different personality has invaded her body. A Jesuit priest is called in. Is it possible that a demonic presence is within the child? Exorcism seems to be the only answer, but do they understand the true nature of what they are about to unleash?" So like so far it has a little bit of like a slower start to it where it's just like little bits here and there, you're getting to know the people in the story, and then all of a sudden it kicks off royally. So yeah, insane, but like in the best way. And I'm really excited to continue reading and see where it goes because like I said, like I never watched the film, so I honestly don't know how the story goes. I do have the film, I've just never watched it. But like I'm really feeling for Reagan, like the little girl in the story. She's 12 at this point. Like she starts off at 11 and then has her birthday. But like I'm really feeling for her, and like what she's going through, but then I'm also feeling for like her mom, Chris, and like everything that she's witnessing and just having no idea what is going on with her daughter, because like it's really weird. But yeah, so it's really interesting, and if you've not read it, I would at this point recommend it. I think that it's going to be a 4.75 or a 5 star for me. And that's just from, not even halfway. So we'll see how the other, like, just over half of this book goes. But it's probably going to end up being a 5 star. Like, I can see that now. And, there's a reason that it's like a classic in horror and thrillers and things like that. So, yeah, that is everything. All the books. I'm being serious. If you've not read the Hush Hush series, go and buy it right now. Go and, like, borrow it from your library. Find a way to read it. The first book is probably not the best out of all of them. Like I said, I rated it 5 stars because I am 100% looking at that through nostalgia glasses. But I just love it so much. Like, it holds such a place in my life. I remembered barely anything from the first two books. I remembered nothing from the third book, even though I was sure I read it. So I probably didn't read it, but yeah, if you've not, please, please, please go and pick them up and read them. Read the first book all the way to the end so that everything comes together and makes sense. And then move on to the second book, because crazy shit happens in every single one of those books. And I love it. It's amazing. So I think that is everything. I also took my stretcher out because it broke. Screw it, I'll just take it out. It's fine. It's been nearly 10 years since I first started stretching my ear, and I can't really go any bigger than it currently is. So screw it, I'll just take it out completely. That's it. I, as always, have everything linked in the description, like all of my socials. If you want to follow me on Fable, please do that so that you can like see my reviews and what I'm reading, and we can compare reader types. If you use Fable, you have a like reader type, and you can compare it with other people that you follow. And I will be updating on about The Exorcist as soon as I finish it, and also Astrophysics for people in a hurry. And then I'm not sure what I'm going to read next, but I'm sure that I'll think of something. I kind of have books picked out for like the middle to end of September and October that I want to read around that time of year. But mostly, I'm just a mood reader, so I just read whatever I'm in the mood for. I don't know what I'm going to be in the mood for after a scary, spooky horror story, but we'll see. So yeah, follow me just everywhere if you want to. Also, subscribe to me here if you want, but no pressure. As always, I'm just a girl posting book things at the moment. Comment if you want. Tell me like something that you've read this year. Recommend me a book that you've read this year that you rated 5 stars or like close to 5 stars, Because I'm always looking for things to add to my TBR. I will see you when I see you. Probably in a couple months. So, see you then. Bye.